Tell us what Nielsen is doing in the programmatic space and the new products that are going to be coming online.
Sure, Andy. So let me take one step back. At Nielsen, one of the things that we've created to help our clients, be they advertisers, agencies, or media companies, improve the effectiveness of their advertising is what we call the 3R model, right? Which is reach, resonance, and reaction. It's not the 3 R's of reading, writing, arithmetic. And it's a very simple model about how well are you reaching your intended audience, how well are the ads breaking through and changing consumers' opinions, and driving, increased consideration for your brand, and then how much are they ultimately driving a reaction, usually a volumetric reaction, right? So when we think about the 3R model, which is a very simple model, I think it explains a lot about what you need to do to be effective with your advertising and media. Where programmatic buying fits in for us is the first R, right? Because the intended audience is an audience that you want to bid for through real-time bidding that meets your objectives. So I'll give you one example of something we're doing in this space. One of the big issues we see today when we measure audience delivery across platforms, TV and digital, is that very few players are doing it very well. In general, what we see is clients either want to extend reach using digital beyond TV, right? Or use digital to maximize overlap and have exposure of both TV and digital for their campaigns to their target consumers, right? What we see, though, is no one's doing this very well. For the most part, what we see in cross-platform measurement is that people are achieving random duplication. They're neither doing a very good job of extending reach or of maximizing overlap between the two screens. So one of the things we're doing is saying, hey, how do we use our TV viewing data to actually fuel programmatic buying and real-time bidding so that you can buy only those digital audiences that make sense? So if I'm an advertiser and I'm saying what I really want to do with my digital campaign is extend reach beyond TV, then I want to look at the delivery of my TV campaign and only bid for those audiences that haven't and will probably not likely see my TV campaign. So I'm truly getting incremental reach on top of what I'm doing on TV.
So tell us how that might surface up a little bit. In other words, that's a product that's out there, or what's the need? Well, we kind of understand the need in the marketplace. How might it manifest in the industry?
So initially, we've been working with a number of digital video players, and they're using it with the agencies, and we'll be doing that through the end of the year and then opening up much more broadly to other players in the market. So it is out there today, and people are doing some of this in the market currently.
So tell us a little bit about comparing TV and video and the whole planning process. A big part of today's theme is the merging of TV planning and video planning across screens. How do you see that developing? What's the role of Nielsen in that, and how might that, and in that cross-platform world, what's effectiveness for the brands?
Right. So, going back to the 3R framework, what we want to be able to do is measure across the 3 R's across every key platform, right? So TV, online, tablet, mobile, radio, everything. And what we want to do is be able to measure with standard and common metrics. We did a survey recently of a bunch of people in the advertising and media ecosystem, and we asked the question around what kind of metrics do you want across screens? And the majority of people said we want the same standard metrics across screens, plus some unique metrics for each platform that makes sense, right? Very few people want different metrics across each of the different screens. And so what we're trying to do is get to a point where we can actually enable the agencies to plan better across the screens, like I just talked about, but also to understand performance across screens. So for example, when we measure TV breakthrough and branding, which is a resonance measurement, right? We can measure the same ad in linear TV and the same ad in online video and understand the relative difference in impact. And across all the data that we have, it's about 40% higher in online video, right? So breakthrough in branding is stronger, significantly stronger in online video. Now, is it worth the premium that you have to pay? That's a decision that other people have to make, right? But we can start to make those measurements that are standard across the platforms so that people can more readily value content and how they want to build their plans.
Now we're going to be speaking to Daily Motion later. They use the VZoop to establish the brand value of their ads through digital. Just walk us through a little bit about how brand value is established through the system, through your platform, brand lift, if you will.
Right. So we have a whole suite of products called Brand Effect, and essentially they're measuring two things, right? First of all, do the ads break through? Do people remember your ad, right? And if they remember your ad, do they know it's for your brand? And you know, let me just give you some basic numbers on this. Across our entire TV Brand Effect database, which is about 250,000 ads, the average breakthrough is about 40%. So about 40% of people can actually remember the specific ad, and then about 28% of people not only remember the ad, but say the correct brand, right? So when you think about that for a second, that's really fundamental. I mean, if consumers don't remember your ad and don't know it's for your brand, your advertising is not likely to work very well, right? So breakthrough is one component, and the other is brand lift. So if people remember your ad and they remember it's for your brand, they get that correct, then the question is, does it drive some lift in attitudinal metrics and consideration to buy the brand, right? And those are the two component parts that we look at and really try to understand. Now, the one other thing I would say that's really interesting about the way we're doing this is that when we look at overall ad performance in the market, it's not just the creative, right? I mean, it's the creative. It's also a function of the media weight, the number of exposures that an individual has. It's also the programming. The programming has a big impact. And it's audience and placement, right? And so what we try to do is not only measure the overall performance on breakthrough and brand lift, but then to decompose it into each of those component parts so that our clients understand where the opportunities are to turn a dial or pull a lever to improve performance in the marketplace.
And just to understand, how do you establish a panel, or what is the methodology to understand brand lift? You know, how is that how's that data gathered?
It's slightly different depending on whether it's TV or online, but since this is more of a TV-oriented discussion, I'll start with TV and how we do kind of cross-platform. We actually have a website called rewardtv.com. We bring in about 5,000 to 6,000 people a day into this website. When you log into the website, we ask you, what TV shows did you watch last night? If you say, I watched American Idol last night, we already know exactly what ads were in yesterday's episode of American Idol. So we first ask a series of questions about last night's episode of American Idol to establish how attentive you were to the program, and then we serve up questions that are specific to the ad or ads that are in the program. The reason that's really important is because we only want to measure among people that we know had an opportunity to see the ad. And because we know how much media weight came before last night's episode of American Idol, we know the ad was in American Idol, that allows us to do this analysis to measure and understand how much of the ad performance is driven by the creative versus the media weight, the programming, the placement, and so forth. Now, we have the ability to tag ads, and when people come into the site, we can also understand whether they've been exposed to a digital ad. And that allows us to look at the TV ad performance of people that have only seen the TV ad, the TV ad performance of people that have seen the TV ad, as well as the online video ad, right? And we can do these either or both kind of comparisons. And this is where this data comes from that I referenced earlier, which is we can see that online video, even when adjusted for frequency, online video performs about 40% better on breakthrough than linear TV, same ads.
And Randall, one last question. When you kind of make your travels around the country meeting with the ad agency folks, what are the pain points and that they're telling you that they're dealing with in planning, particularly across screens? And you know, what are those pain points right now, and how might that be resolved, or where can some of those issues be going, would you say?
Yeah, I think all of the agencies understand the same pain points that the advertisers do, because the advertisers are their clients. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, what advertisers want is they want advertising that drives brand impact, they want higher brand equity scores, and they want sales impact, right? I mean, those are the two fundamentals. And so what I hear from the agencies is we need assistance in figuring out how to bring additional data sets into the planning and the buying and the execution, so that we can actually drive those things to a much greater degree than we can today. So for example, one of the things we've done is we've formed a couple of partnerships to create single source capability, right, where we can bring together what people watch and what people buy at the household level, where we match it anonymously, right? And what's amazing to me is that when you do that and you do a look back and you say, okay, what was your sales lift historically, right? And then let's say it's 7%, and then you say, okay, which groups of consumers are responding best to the advertising, right? And what we typically see is that 20 or 30% of consumers represent about 70 or 80% of the sales lift that the advertising is generating. So if you then know who those people are and you know what they watch on TV and what they do online, you can rebuild your media plan around that, right? And then go out and execute. And on average, across more than 500 campaigns, there's about a 30% lift. And agencies love this kind of capability, right? Because it's giving them additional behavioral and response-based information to allow them to better serve the needs of their clients, which at the end of the day want to build their brand and build their business.